When did you realize you were the worst kind of person? One night I couldn't sleep and thus I was up at 4 a.m., tired but not tired enough to sleep while perusing prank videos on YouTube. I caught on to these gold digger pranks which were designed to tell which women were gold diggers. I thought some of the tactics were clever. They'd do things like lean up against a really expensive car and ask a girl out, and then if she agreed he'd walk over behind to an older, run-down car and see if she would still get in. I realize these types of methods aren't perfect. Many women pointed out that the girls may not have been deterred by the car as much as they were deterred by the fact that the guy had obviously tried to deceive them and was dishonest. Who'd want to risk getting in a car with a guy after that? But what I really disliked were the ones that were blatantly unfair. For instance, in one the girl was extremely hesitant to get in the car with him and kept saying no whenever he told her to get in. Eventually, after he continued pressuring her, she eventually relented and got into the car with some hesitation. But she was labeled a gold digger just for that. In another example, he just drove by her and asked if she wanted a ride. She said yes, and then again, she was labeled a gold digger. Now this wouldn't have bothered me so much if the comment sections weren't filled with misogynistic comments about how all women are gold diggers and sluts. There was even a guy saying that men should treat women like the sluts they are. He sounded incredibly threatening but was upvoted high on the page. Some guys were even convinced after seeing a 5-minute prank video that maybe women really were all sluts and gold diggers. Now the pranksters themselves did try to mitigate the damage. One showed a girl at the end of the video who still got in the old, run-down car with him without so much as hesitating and froze it with the word "See, not all women are gold diggers." Another posted a comment addressing how some people were claiming all women were gold diggers and explained that only a fraction of the women he approached behaved in the way he showed in the videos. But it wasn't enough to stop the sea of misogyny. Now being tired at 4 in the morning, my brain decided it was a good idea to just write lengthy comments on all of these gold digger videos addressing all the areas in which the videos were flawed, or addressing some of the hateful comments on the videos themselves. I have no idea why I thought this was a good idea. The next day I awoke, having completely forgotten the events of the night before. I check my phone to discover with alarm that I have tons of messages. My phone is going off like crazy. Apparently all my comments had attracted a mass horde of angry misogynists. For the rest of the day my phone was blowing up with notifications from angry men replying to me. Many of them were juvenile enough that all they could really do was call me a slut. Some of them got more creative and strung together lots of female-oriented curse words into one sentence. Whore, slut, bitch, etc. I amassed literally hundreds of hate comments and they kept coming in probably for the rest of the month. Every so often I'd hear my phone go off, would look down and would read someone calling me a slut, someone calling me a gold digger, someone calling me a bitch. I deleted or reported the comments very rarely. I wanted people to see this type of misogyny loud and clear. The only ones I deleted were the ones I felt really crossed the line, typically ones that told me that I should get raped, or ones that made threats against my safety. A little while later I stumbled upon a young man who was feeling like maybe all girls really were sluts and gold diggers and was starting to lose faith in women. The misogynists, including the scary one who said men should treat women like sluts, all swarmed about him happily, trying to indoctrinate him into their mindset. I decided to be kind and try and reach out to him. I told him that this wasn't the truth, that he would find a wonderful girl, and then told him about how one of the pranksters explained in a comment how only a fraction of girls responded like they do in these videos. He told me that he wanted to see the proof of this comment, so I went to find it for him and posted it a few minutes later. My mistake was that I posted it on my phone. For some reason, even though my phone showed that the comment had posted, it actually hadn't. So a little while later that same guy replies to me and says that I'm a liar. He was really angry. I asked him in shock what I could have possibly lied to him about, and he told me that I had never gotten back to him. I apologized, explained that my phone had told me it had posted, and then went back and posted the link for him again. It was too late. He and his new friends swarmed. They called me a liar, a bitch, and harassed me. I kept imploring him to check the link because I had posted it for him and that I have no reason to lie when the comment is clearly there. He refused to check it and they took a lot of glee in calling me names and accusing me of being a pathetic liar. It's the most inaccurate thing your child has ever been taught in school. I was at work. The phone at my desk rang. It was the school office calling me. Mr. Phillips, this is Mrs. Smith, not her real name. I am calling you to tell you that your daughter had an accident today. My heart immediately sank. The tension rose in my heart like I had just jumped into Lake Superior while there were still ice blocks washing up on shore. What's happened? Is she okay? Waiting anxiously for each word. Yes, I guess, Mr. Phillips. You're 11 years old, mind you. Daughter urinated on herself in class and we need you to bring her a new set of clothing. Long pause. Internally, I was overjoyed that it wasn't a physical injury of some kind. But then my mind started to insert a few questions into my consciousness. Me, wait, what did you say? Mrs. Smith repeated her statement. Me, where was she? Smith, she was in class. Me, where is she now? Smith, well, she's in the lobby of the school office. Me, when did this happen? Her reply was muddled a bit. I found out later that it was more like an hour. Me, is she still in her wet clothing? Smith, yes, at this point, I am an hour away from the school and my wife was unavailable. I reminded them of those facts. Apparently, my daughter was taught by the teacher that girls, a lie just because the teacher didn't like kids getting up and disrupting her class, could hold their bladder longer than class, so no girl should have to get up and go to the bathroom during class. As she explained that my daughter deliberately peed herself to get out of class, I stopped Mrs. Smith and demanded to speak to the vice principal. Mr. Jones, not his real name, picked up the phone. Mr. Jones. Hi, Mr. Phillips, your daughter is sitting on a towel here in the main office. How soon can you get here? It's starting to smell. My eyes are starting to bleed. At this point, with all my military bearing now completely gone, my words came fast and full of Papa Bear. Me, Mr. Jones, I am about an hour away from school. I can't leave work. However, I will be picking my daughter up from school today. When I do pick her up, here's what I expect. I expect my daughter will be clean, dressed in fresh clothing, and full of stories about how she was apologized to by you, your teacher and the principal of the school for not allowing her to go to the restroom when she politely asked. If I find she's anything other than what I just described, then I will drive my daughter in her urine-soaked smelly clothing to the emergency room at the local hospital, to make sure her bladder isn't ruptured, then to my attorney's office, so that he can participate in teaching you all accurate information about the illegality of physically keeping a child from going to the restroom. On top of that, I will be speaking at great length to the school board about how irresponsible and cruel it was for you to do this to someone's child. Do I make myself clear? That situation still grieves me terribly, every time I think of it. It's not just information that comes to our kids, all mixed up and twisted. They are being manipulated by school staff, as a commodity. When you see stuff like this, it makes you so angry. Have you ever witnessed a teacher crying and breaking down? This was probably one of the more horrific scenes I'd ever witnessed. Our usual gym teacher was on maternity leave, so in her place was a teacher's assistant, a rather mousy and timid young woman. She was perfectly nice, but for some reason you could never connect with her on a personal level. It wasn't due to her lack of social skills, but there was just something about her that put everyone off, so naturally no one ever listened to her. Kids can be cruel. And there was this really nasty kid in my class, little doughy ball of lard, just constantly walking around spouting self-entitlement and demanding everyone's attention. Obviously some deeper-seated issues there. Anyway, it was first period and we had gym. Now gym class in the morning sucks. I mean, I don't really have to explain why, only that the morning class always had to set up the hall for all the other classes using the gym that day. No, sure, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but when you're a preteen adolescent who just wants to sleep all the time, it's a pretty tall order. So, Doey just sat on the side and didn't really help or anything. Just watched and sat on his ass laughing at all the other kids. The gym temp approached him and asked him to start helping. He just kept arguing with her. Then, out of nowhere, probably at some lame attempt to stall, he asked her, "Why did you become a teacher?" She looked at him and answered straight, well, because I love sitting around being sassed by a bunch of prima donnas with no respect, of course. I watched, like, yeah. Boom, you tell the little fat FCK. He retorted with, "So, you like kids? Do you have any of your own?" She shook her head, "No, I don't." And, out of nowhere, the little SHT had memorized the entire quote from that one South Park episode where Cartman is appointed a nanny. And, my jaw just dropped. "You're sterile, is that it?" "No, that's too convenient of an excuse. The truth is, nobody ever wanted to have babies with you, isn't that it? Always the mom's maid and never the mom? Must be hard on you, knowing that the years are ticking away, your friends all getting married, and all the while your uterus is slowly shriveling away, drying up, becoming totally worthless." The entire class could not believe what they just heard. And, suddenly she dropped to the floor and started crying her eyes out, screaming almost. For a good 5 minutes she didn't look up. None of us knew what to do, really, until one of the students called the head teacher and told them what had happened. He was called to his office and we all ran and sat outside the door to listen in. I don't think I've ever heard someone scream that loud in my entire life. We were all in hysterics. At one point the receptionist told us to get away from the door, but when we explained to her who was in there, she left us to it and ended up listening in as well. Everyone hated that kid. He got what was coming to him and so much more. He was immediately expelled. Apparently, he's in prison now. Saw it coming. And, actually, the teacher he humiliated is now living in the north side of town with my old geography teacher and they have a kid. So, we're all super happy for her.